Do this. Next up, we have Life Will Change from the Persona 5 soundtrack, I guess by Lin? Yes, by Lin. So, let's do this. We're going to analyze this as we go. I've never heard this track before, but I'm gonna try to pick up as much as I can from it, so let's check it out. We're 5 seconds in. Disclaimer, again. I'm going to be pausing a lot, because I'm going to be pointing out things as I pick them up. Again, the purpose of these is for me to try to explain, in layman's terms, what is going on in the track. So, we start with incoming smooth bass, probably. We start with funk again, which I'm surprised. With all the tracks we've done, this is the third track we do for Persona. And so far we've done funk. We've been doing a lot of funk and fusion. I haven't heard much in terms of jazz, but that's a different point. That's a separate point. So they have the same pronunciation. It pronounced the G as in giraffe. Yes. yes, the channels both do have the same pronunciation. There you go. It settles the pronunciation debate because now we have one for each. Anyway, yeah, we start with guitar, which the other two tracks we've done of Persona did not start that way. Guitar and drums with that good old chugging, very emblematic of funk. Let's see what we got, because so far it's been fairly simple. Let's see, but we're 5 seconds in. 2 chords, syncopation. Ooh, okay, so drums escalates a little bit, and we get the bass line. There it is. There goes the bass going absolutely insane. Holy shit. It's like the guitar and the drums, they're jamming to the rhythm, and the bass shows up, I don't know, coked up or something, which, you know, fairly emblematic of jazz and funk and the music industry. Coked up and just completely starts shredding it. Reminds me of somebody. So holy shit, this is insane. Okay, synths fading in. Let's see where this goes. It's not a game. I'm not a robot. Okay, so very useful transition that you want to do whenever you want to introduce a new instrument or a new line. Silence. Everyone shut up, even the bass player, and the singer starts singing. Very, very strong way of introducing an instrument, just giving them one bar, half a bar of just by themselves. It's a useful way of saying, hey, focus. This is what we got now. Boy to the box, welcome to today, how you doing? Okay, so now the guitar. So yeah, what we did here is not only did the vocal take the front stage, the guitar is now in the background. Bass player is still going absolutely nuts. So just got from work. Nice, good. Hope you had a good day. I think we have a keyboard in the background as well. And here we go, syncopated. Okay, 2 things. 1, we brought in strings, doing syncopation. Syncopation, of course, being when you're going against the beat. So, you know, we have the very, very, very much 4/4, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, almost rigid by the drums, and the strings are going in between those beats, which is called syncopation. When you skip those beats like that, very funky, but most importantly, the guitar is distorted now. The guitar has distortion now. Very subtle change when the strings were introduced. Kind of masked off, but now we have the escalation of the guitar is now distorted. Chord change, very nice. That is probably a secondary dominant, which is when you borrow a chord from another scale, from another set of chords, to add that extra drama. Why so? Welcome to today. How you doing? Organ in the background, very high note, just there. Okay, so what we're doing with the organ there is called either a pedal or an ostinato. I am today. I'm doing fantastic. How are you? So, a pedal is when you have something holding either the same note or the same note. A pedal note. You hold the same note while everybody else is doing the rest. An ostinato is the same but for an entire phrase. And I think over here we're going to be hearing an ostinato from the keyboard organ. High note, almost like a floating melody, but it's just holding that together up above. Very, very cool. Very cool. Oh, no, we went for a break instead. Back to the guitar, bass, and drums only. There's the organ. Okay, the previous song we did from Persona 5 had a similar build-up with the organ. And this is really good for a composer because it gives a sense of familiarity with the tracks that you make, with your stuff. Organ hero, I know, right? Persona hero. So, we had a very similar build-up, holding up that one note with the organ, adding a second one for the chord, and like teasing the third one for the other one, and then just breaking it down and continuing to the next part. So very reminiscent of the last track. This is a recurring theme, which of course you want that in a soundtrack. In many cases, you want this repeated in the form of some sort of leitmotif. A motif being the essential musical idea, the seed of your idea, in musical sense. A leitmotif, which was very much mastered by Wagner, who did this with his operas. He would do this with his operas a lot. It's a recurring theme that just reminds you that this is it, that this is the thing that you are listening to, that it is all connected. So Persona 5 Star is very true to itself when it comes to music themes, and it sounds like this because this is not a main theme or anything. It's just a transition, and it is very well used here. It's very, very well used because it doesn't feel like a cheap knockoff, even though it's the exact same thing that is happening, that happens here, that happened in the previous track that we analyzed. But that just means it's a recurring theme, which for Persona, you will have a lot of recurring themes. In most stories, you will have a lot of recurring themes. Hell, we're playing through Expedition 33 right now, and the soundtrack has a lot of recurring themes like that. So it is a very, very useful tool. Very delicate. It's double-edged. It's double-edged because it's very, very, very easy to mess this up. If you do this wrong, you put this in the wrong place, it all just becomes annoying. But in this case, I found it clever, because it has that element of ostinato. The last time we had it in the previous track, everything was a lot busier. It was the complete opposite context. So now it was just building up instead of building down. So I like this, using the same thing for opposite effects. Very clever use of recurring themes. So, and of course, the strings doing that syncopation, that exact syncopation, another recurring theme, another recurring motif, probably to do with the persona, just recurring persona theme. But it's fun. It's fun because we had that exact motif as well with the strings. And it's just the first half of the theme that we saw last time. So much fun. So yeah, on the strings as well, we also have that same motif we saw last time. Ba-da-ba-da. And this time we have a more compressed version of the theme so that we are recalling things. It gives it a very similar vibe, which, it's for the sense of consistency, it's good for a soundtrack. Risky, because if you do this too much, the soundtrack will start sounding samey, which can be good if you do it right. And so far, Lin has done it right. So let's continue listening. Organ is still in the background doing that ostinato. Is this an organ solo? Yes, it is. Okay, so we put what is essentially an organ solo in the background. I would have preferred this to be in the foreground, spotlight, but I understand that Lynn has reserved the organ in the spotlight doing something like that for the transition, and we just had one of those. So having that kind of in the background, risky choice. Risky choice. It works to an extent. It has worked to an extent here. I would have probably used a different instrument. Like maybe let the guitar build up on that, or maybe the strings, or something like that, not using the organ for this. Because with this, you essentially painted yourself into a corner. It's still good. You're just painted into a corner a little bit when you did that. So yeah, although it sounds more like it's just a riff rather than a solo, but still, it's being drowned out a little bit by the rest of the track. But now you don't have to remix a bunch of the stuff when they start singing again. You can tell that some of these lyrics are translated because some of the words are a little bit rushed, which completely understandable. I have such a difficult time with lyrics when it comes to my music. It's really, really difficult to find words that fit properly in the rhythms properly. And when it comes to funk, it's especially more difficult because you have all that syncopation. You have so much going on that many times it's difficult. But, we have that word dangerous that was very, very rushed to fit the allotted time. Very, very difficult. And the problem is you already have all the syncopation. You already have all the 16th notes going. If you take a polyrhythm there to do dangerous, polyrhythm being when you set two rhythms that don't quite go well with each other together. One of the easiest ones to say is a 3 against 2. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. So 3 on one, 2 on one hand, 1, 2, 3 in the other. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Together. So you have that sense of polyrhythm. You can do that, but the problem is you already have so many rhythms going on that adding a polyrhythm on top of that is tricky. I would have taken the risk. I can see that Lynn didn't, and I understand why. So let's continue. Oh, and now you have the strings coming again, but now on the lower side, so that they don't take full on the same the full stage, similar to what happened last time. So another recurring theme here. I don't know how long the soundtrack per Persona is, but there you go. Voice reminds me of Bruno Mars because Bruno Mars is a very, as far as I know, Bruno Mars has done a lot of, this kind of funk, fusion kind of music. So it's a fairly standard way of singing in this field. If you start listening to a bunch of these like female-led funk fusion bands, you're gonna see that a lot of the voices will sound very, very familiar. It's not like they do this on purpose. It's just how everything kind of works out in this field. We have that extra chord there. For the track, that's a lot of music, yeah. Everything is building up. Is that a good thing, though? It can be. It can be as good a thing as it can be a bad thing to have those, the people sharing like that. For example, another field where this happens a lot is Mongolian throat singing. A lot of Mongolian throat singers are going to sound very, very similar because of the techniques employed for that. Deathcore, metalcore, music where you use growling. A lot of people will use similar techniques that are going to sound almost the same. And in that case, it's not so much what the sound is, but what you're doing with it. So yeah, the full album has like 40 tracks going 1 to 4 minutes. Yeah, so that is a lot of music. So I can see how to spare some effort and being able to make things more efficient. Lynn decided to use some of these recurring themes, which is completely understandable, very common, very useful for composers. So gutturals often have a samey tone. They can have a samey timbre. They will sound very similar. And that's just how things work out a lot. You know, you go to R&B, a lot of the vocalists are going to sound very alike. And this is just how things work out. Like you will see in jazz, you will see Armstrong with his raspy voice that sounds like he smoked too many cigarettes kind of thing. And he stood out so much because his voice was so unbelievably different from everybody else. So you do have those, and it allows some of these to stand out. And another thing is the training. A well-trained musician is going to have some like that. For example, opera. A lot of opera singers are going to sound almost exactly the same. And it's a useful skill to have, because then that means you can do a lot of the works that other people do. And then you have somebody like a Pavarotti, a Luciano Pavarotti, who was a tenor with such a unique voice, still counted as an opera singer, but he had such a unique voice that he just completely... Louis Armstrong? I think it was Louis. There are so many Armstrongs out there that I forget, but I think it was Louis. The jazz musician, I think it was Louis. You know, with that raspy voice, so unique to him to stand out. And that's the interesting thing. There's always something to stand out. And many times, yeah, the voice might not stand out as much, but something else will. So many times, it's not what you have, it's how to use it. Phrasing. Let's continue. Back to the original, but with a little bit of variation. Again, the theme with the organ. Going back to the chorus. Building up with those strings. We're building up now. The guitar is distorted. Climax of the song. So structurally, this is very similar to the previous song. Very, very similar to the previous song with different themes. Is that a bad thing? It can be if this happens too much, but using a structure that works for a reason. So we have another rondo here. 110 songs, 3 hours, 47 minutes of songs, melodies, instruments. Yeah, that's a lot of music. That is a full-length opera's worth of music. From yeah. Probably not, but yeah, it's one of those, yeah. Another difference here is the drums are not going as insane as in the previous track, but it's still good. Okay, let's see how you end it. Okay, so we have that same riff with the organ, which, again, I personally would have gone maybe with the guitar doing that, or maybe having the strings doing legato with this instead, not the organ, because you already have that theme with the organ with the high notes, and now you're kind of in a corner. And now that we're ending the song with this organ being held back, I don't like it. I'm gonna put it plain and simple. I don't like this because it sounds like the music is being held back by itself. And you know, the song is Life Will Change and all that stuff, so it could be thematic. It could fit the theme. I don't like how it sounds. I think that maybe with the strings, going with the strings, building up with the strings on that lower register instead, being able to have that melody a little bit further up in the front, I think that would have worked a little bit better. Of course, I am the critic here, and this is in hindsight. So, you know, this is 4 minutes, 20 seconds out of 3.5, almost 4 hours of music. So, a small detail. This is still a good track. Let's hear how it ends. Okay, it sounds like it's gonna fade out. Yeah, it fades out. So, fade out, of course, I don't like fade outs, but in cases like this one, they make sense. It helps smoothen the transition to other songs. Of course, most game engines nowadays have that function, so you don't need to build the fade out into the track anymore. But still, overall good track. There's just this one aspect of it that I didn't like. I think another instrument or like adding another sound to it, or doing the strings having that last chord, or the guitar or something like that, or a combination of those, maybe a doubling, like doing this with both the guitar and the organ, so that it doesn't feel so held back, would have been, I think, a bit more effective, more powerful here. But overall, really, really good track. I really like it. Again, I wonder if Lynn went to Berkeley, because it sounds very, like, once again, it sounds very Berkeley College of Music kind of thing. And there you go. That was Life Will Change from the Persona 5 soundtrack by Lynn. Good stuff. Overall, really good stuff. Again, small detail that I disagree with. It's going to happen. So, imagine going to Berkeley and not MIT. Loser. I know, right? I know exactly what you're talking. Anyway, let's move on.